Let's go! Hype! And I want to... do this. And then I want to go... yeah, let's see. Formula 1 qualifying have happened. No, this... wait, what? Oh my god, I thought... have Sergio Perez got one more starting penalty, but we are in Australia. I need to be in Japan. Thank God, Sergio Perez is still P2. Okay, so... I mean, it was so talk about, oh, Mercedes, are they back? No, they aren't. Fucking believers. The Mercedes Coupion of the 3 years is still happening. It's fucking depressing. But yeah, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez. Oh my god, Sergio Perez could have maybe got pole position. That was almost an amazing qualifying. Seeing the Sergio Perez, I mean, I thought, oh, Sergio Perez did a good lap, and then Max Verstappen will just make an even better lap. But no. Man, this was, I would actually say, this was close. And then, oh, and my Lando Norris win prediction can maybe happen. Starting really good. Charles Leclerc starting really bad. And P1 will probably have some real thoughts about Charles Leclerc P8. But yeah, Carlos Sainz P4. Fernando Alonso P5. I mean, as long as he's better than Mercedes, he will be happy. Oscar Piastri P6. Lewis Hamilton. Wait, let's see. Oh no, Fitzpatrick. George Russell did not qualify Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, P7 for Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc P8, George Russell P9, and Yuki Tsunoda P10, and then Ricciardo P11. So the high for 2 points, not 2 points, but 2 people from the team getting points from for Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team can happen. Sadly, Alex Albon is behind Nico Hülkenberg and Valtteri Bottas, but hopefully he will have a good race that he can maybe get some points. Rather, George Russell and Hamilton have a bad race. And Alpine, I mean, Lance Stroll shows his why he's in Formula 1. And yeah, Alpine, Esteban Ocon and Gasly wasn't good. Kevin Magnussen was bad again, Logan Sargent was bad again, and sadly Shogun Yu was also bad. I've heard maybe he qualified 20 all the races. Let's see. Well, at least qualifying bad. 17. Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Australia. So they just the first race he wasn't lost. And that was I don't think something happened in the qualifying, maybe. Okay, so that's happened. What more can I say? I mean, if Sergio Perez wins the race, he can maybe lead the championship, and that would be really funny. Eller fun. Not this funny that this driver is leading. Eller, it's fun to know this driver could lead the race. But let's see. Yeah, let's go to P1 and let's see what his feeling is about I mean the qualifying. Charles Leclerc being P8, was it? Man, I already forgot. P8 is so low down. Yeah, P8 behind Lewis Hamilton. What you doing, Charles Leclerc? And I don't know what is happening, but he don't do a great lap, so he need to go out again and waste soft tires to make a better lap. I don't know why that's happened, but hopefully that will continue because it's not fun. And also 10 hours, you can say 11 hours until the race. And while P1 will talk, some Minecraft will happen. And yeah, what will... Oh yeah, I will continue the XP repairing.
What happened in qualifying for the Japan?
What happened? I mean, Mercedes shown they're still bad. And Charles Leclerc shows that he is not lucky with his qualifying.
Japanese Grand Prix. Let's get into Q1, shall we? Where the 5 drivers out were Stroll, Gasly, Magnussen, Sargent, and Joe. Of course. Well, I think there's a couple of big stories on this one. First and foremost, Mr. Lance Stroll not making it.
I mean, I hope Lance Stroll will soon think like, nah, Formula 1 isn't that funny anymore. It seems like I can't never be close to getting a even podium. Maybe I should do something else. And then Yuki Tsunoda can hop in Aston Martin with Honda. And then gets podiums and maybe win races and stuff. That would be amazing.
Out of Q1, that has very much tastings of 2023. If we remember Lance going on quite the drastically bad qualifying run and allegedly yeeting his mechanic, because we didn't quite see it on camera. And it's back to that way apparently, because that was a horrible session for Lance, who of course has the new upgrades. So does Alonso as well. Lance.
Yeah, oh yeah, Lando Norris. I mean, Alonso. P5, was it P5? It must be P5. Yeah, P5.
Had the upgrades earlier and was able to run it on the Friday, but could not extract any performance whatsoever and was gapped by his teammate by 0.8 of a second in Q1.
The gap between Formula A and Formula B meant that people that were even, in 8th place and stuff didn't have to even go out and do another lap because the gap's so big.
It's so big, but it was so close. It's been so close and now it's big gap. Why is that?
You've got such a comfortable margin. but apparently not if you're Lance Stroll.
Or
he's
Charles
still
Leclerc.
going out in Q1. His qualifying is just awful. Like, it always has been. It's just terrible at qualifying.
Question from P1 Patreon member Ruben. What is going on with Zhou? Another stinky quali this weekend. This was a very stinky quali. I do notice when we do our driver ratings that we have to analyse Zhou's races very thoroughly, because usually something happens that is not his fault. But as far as I saw, that was just a very poor quali from him. Bottas gapped him by half a second. Actually quite a lot of gappings going on in Q1 between teammates, which is not something you tend to see, just purely because they're driving the same car. But Zhou, that was really... And that's the third time in a row now that he'll start last. Well, or qualify last.
Yeah, Zhou's not had a great start to the season. He's
Nope.
kind of quietly sort of not doing particularly well, but the pressure doesn't seem to be on him as much because he doesn't have those big moments, like, and by big moments I mean like noticeable moments like Sargent where he's in the wall and it's like, oh, what's going to happen to his seat? Zhou's just kind of
He's
normally
there.
always out in Q1.
Yeah, I feel like he sits on the seat much safer than Logan Sargent. Because first of all, the car is not good enough. So maybe that will remove some torque. And he do some good races, so it's not like he's 100% bad. But hopefully he will not lose his seat,
One.
because I
And
want him back. Eller
Yeah,
want him
he
back.
kind of, it goes under the radar, but you got to think that this guy's gonna, that team's gonna become Audi, and if he's gonna want to keep his seat, he can't be
shit.
finishing qualifying P20 every week.
You just can't see it, can you? You just can't
No,
see
not at all.
Zhou keeping his seat if there is all of these musical chairs going on in the next couple of years. I just feel as though he'll be one of those to miss out, especially when you have these young talent waiting in the wings as well. It's not good enough, as we've said several times. Arik Ski comes in with, after those practices and quali, how soon will Logan be replaced? Could he be gone in 1 or 2 races if he doesn't keep it out of the wall? I don't think it's going to be as knee-jerk as that, personally. I don't think James Fowles...
I think if he not make a crash, if he crash one more time, but I feel like if he crash twice in a row, and it's not like, it's like there's no wind, there's like nothing, and he just crash out, then I would say he will get removed. Until then, he will probably have the full season.
Is going to be that aggressive. I think if Logan continues to cost the team and they are running out...
Ett nytt spännande avsnitt av veckans agenda här, för ni tänker väl inte missa det heta snacket om hockeyslutspelet. Och så är fotbollsallsvenskan igång. Kan något av Stockholmsklubbarna hota Malmö FF till guldet?
No.
Jag såg en skön sak. Tiger Woods, han satte sig på comeback i US Masters.
Go away.
out of parts left, right and centre, then maybe some drastic decisions need to be made. But then it is, again, who would then fill that slot? For me, it just doesn't make
Mick
too much sense. I
Schumacher.
think there is also some American ties that are obviously maybe favouring Logan staying in that seat as well, which I'm sure pulls a few strings. But I don't think he'll be gone in 1 or 2 races, but he has to watch his back if he keeps bidding parts that are very, very precious to a Williams team.
He has to beat Albon at least once in a qualifying session
At
or
least
a race
one,
or something.
at least
it's just not
more
happening.
than
I think he'll be fine until the summer break. But if he's carrying on as he was in the summer break, as we go into the summer break, then I think, the pressure will be on.
I will give Logan a little bit of benefit of the doubt for qualifying. If we're looking at that specifically, just under 2 tenths away from Alex Albon, it's not an absolute disaster compared to some other teammate comparisons that we've had in this podcast. P1 Patreon member Katie, are Aston Martin's new upgrades as good as they think, considering Lance didn't make it out of Q1 with them? Well, I don't think they're incredible because Alonso didn't do anything massively different to perhaps what we might expect from him. P5, which is still in the mix, but it's more the fact that it's Lance Stroll driving the other car. It's as simple as that, really.
True.
The Aston Martin clearly still has a good baseline for Fernando to be up there, but yeah, it's more around. I guess it's hard as well for a team to be able to really judge how good an upgrade is, because you've got Fernando Alonso, who is one of the best drivers on the grid even at his age, but you don't really have a second teammate to really be able to benchmark it properly.
Yeah, the upgrade that Aston Martin need is a new driver. Other teammates that are quite
Yuki
close, you give an
Tsunoda.
upgrade. If they both jump up the order, perfect, whatever, like you can see that it's working. But Fernando Alonso as well is notorious at getting the most out of a car. Sometimes throughout his career has driven terrible cars and sometimes maybe done even better than he should be doing. So it's actually a really hard comparison to know because Lance is just gonna do Lance things, and
True. He will just be Lance.
it's just not. They're gonna have to. I think Lance is definitely holding him back now though, because they're not going to be able to develop the car.
Well, it was last year as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, let's move on now from Lance Stroll slander to Q2.
Charles
Ricciardo,
Leclerc.
Nico Hulkenberg,
No.
Valtteri Bottas, Alex Albon,
Not
and
yet.
Esteban Ocon were the 5 drivers out. Question from P1 Patreon member Snowborn: will Danny be able to beat Yuki in the race, and how will it be affecting him keeping his seat? There's no Daniel Ricciardo slander to be had this time out. You have to note the fact that Daniel did not drive in FP1 because Iwasa was in his car. FP2 was a washout, so Daniel really started his driving on the Saturday today, and to be within half a tenth of Yuki Tsunoda, who is driving very well. This is what I would expect from Danny Rick. Obviously,
Oh,
when we were
that you could say, because he drove so little. Is that more about how good Ricciardo is? I mean, he had practice 3 and then qualify, and Yuki Tsunoda had at least practice 1. I mean, somewhat practice 2, but he had more practice. Oh shit, Ricardo had probably practice 2 also. Okay, so it's just practice 1.
doing our predictions at the beginning, we were saying that Tsunoda, I said predictions at the start of the season, that he does need to beat Tsunoda. That's if he wants the Red Bull seat. But to keep a seat in Formula 1, that's fine to match Yuki Tsunoda in my opinion, especially when Yuki is getting into Q3. They're both firing on a decent level. They are top of Formula B. And so yeah, I think that Daniel has had a much stronger showing so far this weekend.
Based on how the season's gone, you can't take anything away from Daniel Ricciardo or talk him down for that performance, because while Yuki, and rightly, like you say, deserves the headlines for getting into Q3, it's not really that much difference. And the sad thing is with this Formula A, Formula B, is Yuki had that brilliant performance to get into Q3, but you might as well have just sat in the pit lane because you're never going to beat any of those top cars anyway.
I guess the other drivers out, Hulkenberg had a great performance in the Haas, Bottas a great performance as well in the Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber. Those two really...
Did he say that right? We will see it again.
But those two really performing, I would say, in the sort of mid. Haas,
Bottas
a great performance as well in the Stake F1 Team Kick
Stake F1 Team Kick
Sauber. Those two really...
Yeah, he said that right. But it's because he's reading. Man, that's sad. You should know this without looking.
Performing, I would say, in the sort of midfield teams. Then Albon and Alpine, despite bringing the upgrades, looking about as... I mean, I suppose they've taken a small step forward from being 19th and 20th, but it's not exactly a leap forward, is it?
No, it's not a huge step forward.
Yeah, like Mercedes step forward. It's nothing. Nobody cares.
I guess they are. It's an insane thing to say, but they're now in the mix with your Hasses and your Williams and Saubers.
Let's go to Q3 then. And
Charles Leclerc.
It was actually a surprisingly close finish between the two Red.
Yeah, that was the only thing that was close. Sorry, Perez and Max Verstappen.
Perez missing out on pole by 0.6 0.066 of a second.
That's so
It has to be
amazing.
said. Perez, definitely one of the stars of qualifying. Very impressive to get to that close to Verstappen. I know we joked about it on the Twitch watch along. Oh, you know, now we're giving him props for being even near Verstappen. But the thing is, Max has been performing on a literal record-breaking run. So for Perez to do that around a track that is very close in qualifying, and if you're missing a little bit, it can hurt you. But Perez on the front row of the grid, and will he give us a race tomorrow?
Yes.
You've got to give credit to Perez because
Norris also.
he was very close to Verstappen, who's obviously driving incredibly well. It's a big confidence boost after Australia when we said, oh, you know, he had that great start to the season, but then he did last year. Is it all going to go downhill from
No,
here?
it wouldn't.
And to deliver this performance, he just needs to have
If I can watch
a good,
people think
solid
that.
race now, and it'd be
Lucky the
fascinating to see where his
Will he
mindset
actually be
is,
good?
because
Yes.
of course, I wonder if there's that. It happened in Mexico, didn't it, where he saw the
Win or bin.
win or bin. I mean, my God.
Could we see the two Red Bulls collide
like
into
a
turn
Senna
one?
Prost moment where
Yeah.
it just became
And then an epic Norris win. That I will say. I will say no to a Perez win if Lando Norris can win. Cooked potato.
down the inside. That'd be something, wouldn't it?
That would be quite something. But Perez, yeah, great job.
And Jos Verstappen will start next nuclear war in Red Bull. I mean, if that happens, he will probably start sending death threats to someone. I mean, who? But who would that be? Nobody can really know that.
Him. Another obviously great job as well from Lando Norris. P3, McLaren, great around here once again, which didn't know whether that was actually going to come to fruition, because it's an early stage of the year for McLaren to actually turn up and be good, and they did it. Lando, a great lap, not close enough to challenge the Red Bulls, but definitely close enough with their what seemingly is quite good race pace to challenge for a podium tomorrow. But I think it will be a dogfight between the two McLarens, two Ferraris, maybe two Ferraris. Hamilton's obviously in there as well. Alonso P5.
Yeah, of course.
P3. If we
Hamilton is not in there. Stop lying when you copium. Hamilton is so far off fighting for
put
something.
some sticky tape over Verstappen and Perez tomorrow on the timing intervals, could be a battle for the ages.
Lando's done a brilliant performance. It just shows that this is a McLaren track. Even despite them maybe not having the start to the year that maybe some of us would have thought based on how they ended last year, it's still a very good start compared to what McLaren normally do. But yeah, it's a very, very impressive lap.
Question: Triznac27. Is McLaren taking their second fastest spot again, or is it just the track? Well, I think it's the track. Obviously, they did incredibly well last year. Lando showed some amazing pace in the race, but it does pose the question. We thought Ferrari were the second fastest car. They've solidified that now, and then we come to a.
I mean, oh god damn it! Something you should be able to do is maybe say, man, Mercedes will maybe not be good. Can we just keep that for the whole season? Even if whatever Mercedes look like, it will just be, they did this in practice and qualifying, but it will still be bad. Can't we just all just agree on that? Because they are bad, please.
You know, a very unique track like Suzuka, and all of a sudden Ferrari aren't the second fastest, and we get a similar trend perhaps starting to form that we saw last year, where it's Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin taking that second
Stop as Mercedes will not be up there.
spot. So I do wonder if we're going to see a similar trend as we go to more unique tracks, that some teams will be quicker than others, and it isn't just simply Red Bull, then Ferrari, then the rest.
Yeah, we're going China next, and it again is a very different track with a huge long straight. Might not suit McLaren at all, might suit Ferrari, and that'll chop and change.
Right, moving away from McLaren, and you've got written down here Leclerc P8. Sorry, Matt, let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk.
True.
I've been thinking, and it's not as bad as it looks. All right, 1/10 of a second to Carlos Sainz. Can we calm down? It just looks horrendous, like Hamilton to Russell in Bahrain, because it's really close in that midfield. We are used to seeing Charles Leclerc getting those extra couple of tenths, and I do want to question where those have gone, but it's not horrendous. These things happen in Formula One. Charles had a great run of form in qualifying before the previous race, but I'm also dead inside, thank you.
Even though it is close, we know that Charles normally has the edge in qualifying, and that's where he delivers the most, and just hasn't seemed to have hooked it up in the last couple of races. I'm not worried yet. It is just a case of we're going to repeat the same things. We're going to repeat the same things again and again, saying like, you know, just because Carlos is doing well doesn't mean Leclerc's doing bad, and it is close between them.
He is doing bad.
That being said, you know,
He needed to go out twice and waste one tire just to be safe. So he did bad.
I am surprised at how well Carlos is doing, particularly in qualifying against Leclerc. So it'd be fascinating to see how it continues.
Yes, as you also say, Tommy, Carlos Sainz doing well does not mean Charles Leclerc's doing bad. It's 1/10 of a second. Charles is not performing perhaps in these last couple of qualifying sessions as we would expect. But if you take the last 10, he's been on the front row for 8 of them. So you can all shut up.
No.
But this is what we've said as well, is that Ferrari have one of the strongest, if not the strongest lineup. We've always said that Charles...
And we lose Hamilton, it will be even stronger, and we will maybe win construction ships. Because Carlos Sainz will not help with that. If the car is good and I can win races and maybe win a construction ship, he will not be that one.
Leclerc and Carlos Sainz together are an incredible lineup, and they're showing that. They're both.
And Lewis
very
Hamilton
close
will
at the
be
moment.
even
So,
more incredible.
Yes, P8 is going to be a very difficult race to watch from there, because Suzuka is a difficult track to overtake. But we'll be live on Twitch, Matt P1 Tommy. If you haven't followed us on watch-alongs before, we will be live at 5:30 in the morning UK time. No complaints, can't wait. Tommy, what are your final thoughts, please, sir?
Final thoughts that
Acting
even
like
as a
you
Max Verstappen
don't
fan,
care, but
come on, Sergio Perez,
surely care.
let's have like something to get a bit.
Because I don't know why even mention it if you surely care. Like, even you just up or you just go up, you have 2 choices. And if you choose one that you don't like, that's your problem.
I see at turn 1.
Just a tiny little wheel bang. Lando Norris takes the lead. But they can still stay in the race. Just a little... Oh, they've both gone wide. And Lando Norris leads.
And then Carlos somehow wins again. And then, then something happened. Carlos wins the race.
No.
And then
Lando
Crofty
Norris
goes...
wins.
You can hear the cheers from the crowd, and then Russell's in the barrier.
Oh, dear. We haven't really spoken about Mercedes at all. But they baited us, didn't
Yeah, because you're so smart. Just like you maybe washed brain like Lewis Hamilton. Ooh.
they? With potential upgrades. And...
I even said in the practice watch along, don't take anything from it. I saw FP3, put them in my top 5. Oh, this is the best we've done, and then 7th and 9th.
Although we do have to say that Lewis Hamilton outqualified George Russell by a significant margin, and I know that will go under the radar for everyone saying that Hamilton's finished and that George Russell is now the best
George
qualifier in the
Russell's
world.
yeah.
That is it. Tommy, you've had your final thought. Matt P1 Tommy on Twitch. P1 live shows are next week. Bath and London, have some tickets available if you want to come and see me and Tommy live. And we'll see you very soon. Lots of love.
I don't understand who actually would want to do that. See you live. See you not, thank you. Okay, that was that. Okay, nobody cares. Like I said, people pretend that Mercedes is something, but they aren't. And I don't understand why people have so fucking washed brain about Mercedes. And as soon Lewis Hamilton leaves, it will just go even more downhill. But now it's time for actually an expert in Formula 1. Or in my opinion, because I mean, his opinion maybe Lewis Hamilton is maybe somewhat funny, but the rest is just stating how this
pole for the
it is
Japanese
actually.
Grand Prix. Again, no surprise there. His 5th consecutive pole, matching his achievement already between Monaco 2023 and Silverstone 2023. But a great performance from Red Bull all round, because Sergio Perez there on the front row as well. A lot of pressure on Sergio going into the last phase of Q3.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, dislike, or like how, maybe not dislike, but how we talk about Sergio Perez can be mean / bad. That you're thinking like, man, you don't like Sergio Perez. And who knows, deeply he maybe
3, Lando Norris
don't like
really
him.
quick in the McLaren. But Sergio did it. Really nice looking lap. So Red Bull on the front row, kind of as predicted. They've got a lot of very efficient aerodynamics on that car, and they can trade off top speed against downforce, and that downforce gives them the ability to manage the tyres. We'll get onto that in a second in terms of the long runs and how the tyres do look going into this race. But really nice laps by both drivers. Let's have a look at the sector times. Interesting sectors around Suzuka, because sector 1 obviously begins at the start-finish line, ends at the top of the hill on the exit of that long left-hander, Dunlop. So that takes into account the S's up the hill. And Max Verstappen quickest in that really demanding section, turns 1A, 1B, and then through the S's, getting the car absolutely right. Watching him on the exit of 1B, which is the tighter of the two right-handers at the end of the pit straight, the all-important corner that sets you up for the S's. The striking difference, I thought, between Max and virtually everybody else, maybe a little bit of Charles Leclerc in there as well, was the way Max was using the exit curbs. He wasn't loading the car up at all. He was keeping the car very light on the exit curb, so he was able then to position the car beautifully for the entry into the S's right in the middle of the road there. Beautiful to watch. And short corners come into play as well for Max at the top of the S's. That's, I think, where he had it over Sergio Perez, probably a couple of other places as well. But really, really nice work by Max Verstappen through that first sector. Lando Norris, very, very impressive in qualifying. He didn't do any full tank running in FP3 in the morning. He's setting the car up for qualifying, leaving all the donkey work, if you like, to Oscar Piastri. That point should be made. But Lando absolutely maximising that opportunity and doing a great job. Again, around Suzuka last year, he qualified 3rd as well. He was 2nd in that first sector. But then interesting, looking at sector 2, which is the two Degners, very difficult right-handers, where understeer inevitably creeps in on the second part of that corner. Then the hairpin, traction out of the hairpin through spoon, and then onto the straight, which is going to be traction and then speed through the air. Look at the Red Bulls there, 1-2, just brilliant. Ferrari very quick as well, although not fast in a straight line. We'll get onto that again in a second. And that's where perhaps where Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri suffering a little bit with the McLarens, with their top speed, but also out of those slow corners, perhaps maybe the constant radius spoon, not a great corner for them either. Sector 2 ends on the approach to 130R, so it does reflect speed through the air. And although the Red Bulls are not brilliantly quick in terms of top speed with the setup,
Let's see. Oh, Norris isn't far off. So the fight between Verstappen, Perez and Norris.
up they're running, they're still fabulously quick at the end of sector 2, which is before the entry.
Hopefully Norris
into
will
130R.
end up
The
winning.
speed trap, should point out, is in the middle of 130R, which just shows that that corner is effectively now part of the straight in terms of Formula 1 vernacular. Sector 3 begins before 130R and goes down to the start-finish line, so it's basically the chicane. Yeah, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, no real surprise there of who's quick through there. So great performance from Max. If you had to really use an adjective, I think, to describe his lap of Suzuka, unlike, say, Alex Albon, who's all picking up bits of dirt here, bits of dirt there, throwing the car here, doing it very well in terms of input, but nonetheless right on the ragged edge. But if I had to use two adjectives to describe Max's lap, I would say patience and also gentle with the car, and that's how it looked, particularly out of turn 1B, as I say, really nice. And Sergio Perez almost as good there, but not taking advantage of the short corners that Max creates, particularly at the top of the hill, top of the S's, and then in other parts of the lap, as I say. So let's have a look at the qualifying results overall. Max 28.19, Sergio Perez 28.26. That's a great result for Sergio Perez. As we say, he's been driving well this year. Melbourne was not a great weekend for him, but he's driven very well in the other two races. And pretty close to Max. Max saying afterwards he didn't really get the tyre balance right in terms of using the tyres well over the lap. They'd gone off towards the end of the lap. So that has to be taken into account. But then Sergio too, perhaps not using the tyres quite as much through sector 1, which is why I had more rubber at the end. That soft Pirelli, yeah, you really need to get it right for one lap. But it is, as we said yesterday, a very good race.
It was close.
Lando 28.4, I think got the maximum from the McLaren there. Really, really good.
True.
Obviously not as short a corner as Max Verstappen, but around here he really got the best from that car, I think, in many ways. As did Carlos Sainz, 28.6. And look where Charles Leclerc is, 28.78. That's not a significant margin, but it's enough to say Carlos Sainz again quicker than Charles Leclerc. So difficult weekend again for Charles Leclerc, and a small difference, but look at the number of drivers between them. Fernando Alonso, excellent job in the Aston Martin.
Hopefully Leclerc will have a good race, because man, in my how I think the season will land is Max Verstappen, then Charles Leclerc and Norris. But for that to be true, Charles Leclerc need to have bad races. At least better than Sainz.
I thought 28.6 to match Carlos Sainz's time, and Fernando looking really comfortable in that car. Really nice balance, and we'll see where they are in terms of top speed. It's not great, so that again reflects the setup approach of Aston Martin, very similar to Red Bull's. And then Mercedes falling away slightly today. The temperatures went up. George Russell said yesterday, for some reason, that Mercedes don't really understand when it's quite cold, they do well. Now look at that, 28.7 Lewis Hamilton, George Russell 29.0, made a bit of an error on his last lap. But if you look at the runs of the two Mercedes drivers under pressure in Q3, Lewis 28.8 and then a 28.7, and then going out again doing a 28.8, absolutely on the limit. George Russell 29.1, 29.0, 29.0. So yeah, I think they found the limit of that car. They're talking about how they've made a lot of progress. Of course, everybody's made progress. The weather is different this year. I'm not sure we should read that much into the half second they've found apparently between this year and last, bearing in mind this race is only 6 months after the 23 Japanese Grand Prix. A lot of talk about that. I think a more realistic assessment is that although Mercedes do seemingly have a slightly bigger sweet spot in which to manage the tyres, they are still struggling, really struggling to keep ahead of Aston Martin and let alone McLaren, Mercedes, their two customer teams. And Williams not too far away. Look where Alex Albon is in Sector 3, ahead of George Russell. So his mate George Russell. So that's not, I don't think Mercedes, they are making that point. But to me, it's they've lost ground. They've lost ground certainly in terms of competitive speed against Aston Martin and McLaren. And Ferrari, well, what about Ferrari? Let's have a look. Just go back to a reminder of where they were in qualifying today. Carlos Sainz, Sector 1, not bad. Quicker than Charles Leclerc up through the S's. That's an impressive result for Carlos Sainz. Sector 2, which is a sort of technical sector, if you like. If you take the two Degners, the hairpin, the traction spoon, and then a little bit of top speed. Charles Leclerc just has it over Carlos Sainz, and they're pretty competitive, very competitive through there. So they've lost time through into turn 1A, 1B, and up through the S's, which is not a good thing in terms of the race tomorrow. And Sector 3, not good at all for Ferrari. It's a fairly straightforward sector from the entry to 130R down to the start-finish line. So you've got to assume that on both occasions, on both cars, they're just using up the tyres too much. And by the time they got to Sector 3, a la Max, both Ferraris running out of grip in that last sector. So that's an indication that tomorrow Ferrari could suffer some serious dead. So let's have a look finally at the heart.
Kev, Alonso, eller no, Alonso. I mean, Mercedes. How did they look then? Hopefully they will have a really bad race.
Of what?
Let's see. 36. Okay. Oh, everyone.
Today was all about the qualifying, obviously the grid set, but this FP3, the fuel runs, this is what will give the real pointer for the race tomorrow. As you can see, they're a pretty fair mix of tyres that the teams chose to do their long runs with. I've got a question mark over the two Mercedes drivers. Surprisingly quick. I mean, if those are real times in terms of fuel, and you've got to assume, look at the number of laps George did, you've got to assume there's a reasonable amount of fuel in that car. Those are very quick times and good top speeds as well. I mean, the gold standard obviously is Max Verstappen at any given moment, but Max is saying that he doesn't feel great with fuel in the car, so he's doing 288, 287. Look at the top speeds just to see. That's a full tank Red Bull top speed, and Mercedes are doing a little bit more than that, 294, 294, 297. So you've got to assume that Mercedes are running less fuel, but nonetheless a very consistent run by both drivers, and George Russell putting in a lot of laps on that medium tyre, getting a lot out of it, Lewis running the soft tyre, so it just shows the approach that they may be going to tomorrow. Max and Sergio Perez, this is a very good performance, I think, for Sergio Perez. If you look at those runs,
True.
36.5, 36.7, 37.0.
He's doing great.
He's right there doing sort of Max Verstappen times. They're both on the same tyres and very similar top speeds. I'd say actually it looks as if Sergio's got a little bit more top speed, perhaps running slightly less wing, less flap than
Yeah, he usually
Max.
has
So Sergio Perez in very good shape tomorrow based on the fuel runs and his grid position, which is alongside Max, of course. And he can get into P2 or even the lead, but let's say he gets into P2. And there's any sort of issue with Max, this could be a good day tomorrow for Sergio Perez.
True.
Now let's look at the Ferraris
Or a very
on
good
the
day
medium
for
tyres,
Norris.
so that's a direct comparison with the two Red Bulls. I've got to say they're really, really quick. But then again, you look at the top speeds, 300 in the case of Charles Leclerc on one lap, and he's doing 296. So it's not just a one-off. And Carlos Sainz a little bit slow, perhaps more realistic. You'd say Charles Leclerc's possibly running less fuel than Carlos Sainz. Carlos doing very much the sort of Red Bull top speed with that fuel load. 35.8, that's quick. 36.0, that's quick. 36.2, that's quick. 36.2, 36.1. So he's going very quickly, Carlos Sainz, on a full load of fuel compared with the Red Bulls, assuming they're running the same fuel loads. And what does that mean? It was a hotter day today, definitely hotter than it was yesterday, which is why potentially maybe Mercedes dropped off in terms of their performance. And that means probably on the medium.
Yeah, and that also will also get annoyed when people don't mention it. Why was Mercedes fast maybe yesterday? Oh, maybe it was colder. And today was hotter or warmer. Why not say that? Than saying, oh, Mercedes is back. No, they aren't. They're not back. Stop pretending they are.
Medium tyre, don't forget it's a hard range of tyres. Maybe on the medium tyre, Red Bull aren't getting the same temperature performance out of it that Ferrari are getting. And Ferrari helped by the using the ambient temperature and using the tyres a bit more, and that's why they're getting more out of it. And there doesn't seem to be a massive amount of deg either. Look at those lap times at the end of those runs. Very impressive. That's actually a mistake at the end of the Carlos Sainz one. That should be 36.7. Excuse me for that. Fernando Alonso too, very good. He ran the hard tyre. Alone of the top runners ran the hard tyre on the fuel load runs today, 35.3, 35.3, 35.7. Again, you know, those top speeds reflect that he's probably running quite a lot of fuel, although the Aston not brilliantly quick in a straight line, so maybe he's not running quite as much fuel as Red Bull. But 35.8, 35.9, I mean, consistently in the 35s. If that's a real run, then Fernando Alonso's in unbelievably good shape. And Oscar Piastri didn't do quite as many laps, but right there with Red Bull, and looking very good. Put in some good homework and some good laps there. He didn't get the qualifying lap that he would have wanted, obviously, but then again, as I say, Lando had a little bit more opportunity to get the car perfectly set up and to get himself set up for the lap of Suzuka as well. Just on that, it struck me that there's some incredible consistency from some of today's drivers that we don't often talk about, just highlighting some of those within those fuel runs. Look at Carlos Sainz, 36.289, 36.222, 36.221 on 3 consecutive laps. That's pretty impressive with fuel in the car. Fernando Alonso, similarly, the ultimate pro, 35.948, 35.875, 35.836, 35.914, bang, 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 bang. Max Verstappen, yep, the car perhaps not quite as drivable as you'd like it to be with fuel, but nonetheless 36.671, 36.738, 36.703, and Sergio Perez just as consistent. Look at that, 333, 338, and then 515, 512. Amazing. We just take it for granted that they just plant these drivers in the car and they go and do those clockwork runs. Oscar Piastri too, 36.523, 36.508, and George Russell also 35.239, 35.223. Other drivers doing that as well, but I just thought I'd highlight those because we do often just take those for granted and say, oh, well, you know, they're all the same. They're very consistent, but it's incredibly hard and difficult to do that, particularly on a circuit like Suzuka. Let's have a look back, going back through the qualifying times. Oscar Piastri, he won't be that happy with that lap time, I don't think. 28.7 if Lando's doing a 28.4. But again, he did do that donkey work, so all credit to him. Lewis out qualifying George, 28.7. He'll think this is a great day, partly because there's that lovely feeling of beating George around Suzuka, 28.
Yeah, great feeling. Yeah, succeeding to beat someone that I should have beaten a long time ago, yeah. The greatest feeling ever. When you finally succeed with something you should have succeeded on a long time ago.
7 to 29.0. That's a nice margin too, bearing in mind George, of course, made that mistake. So Lewis will feel good about that, but he's had to scratch that hard to do an Oscar Piastri time. That's really the context, and he's still slower than an Aston Martin and the other McLaren. So, and certainly one of the Ferraris. So you shouldn't get too excited about that. So I think that puts that more into perspective. Charles Leclerc, not a good day. George Russell, not a good day. Yuki Tsunoda, a fabulous day. He wasn't in Q3 in the dying moments of Q2, and about 4 drivers fighting for that P10 position, and it was Yuki that got it, to the delight of the crowd. So good performance, obviously out qualifying there for his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Same lap time, 29.4, but it was Yuki that got it. Daniel obviously not particularly happy about that. Nico Hülkenberg's been doing a good job all weekend.
Why wouldn't he? I mean, is it that better than what he have done before? So couldn't he be happy with that? Yeah, Peter Windsor is talking like always.
In the Haas Ferrari, 29.4, as has Valtteri Bottas in the new upgraded.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton must be really happy with his P7 because he out-qualified George Russell, but Daniel Ricciardo P11 can't be happy with that because he didn't out-qualify Yuki Tsunoda. Yeah, sure.
Stake Sauber looking much more competitive than of late. Esteban Ocon he was the only driver actually not to go quicker in his final run than he had in the previous sector of qualifying. He did a 28.1 in Q1, 28.816 in Q2, but nonetheless the quicker of the 2 Alpine drivers. Upgrades at Alpine not really showing through. Should go back to upgrades in terms of Fernando Alonso. They fitted parts from Lance Stroll's Aston, upgrade parts yesterday to Fernando's car today, and he obviously liked that, did 28.6. But look at Lance Stroll, 30.0, didn't get out of Q1, looked completely lost, never looked competitive. So very, very bad weekend so far for Lance Stroll. Pierre Gasly, slower than Esteban Ocon. That
he should then be
on a circuit he knows and loves very well. Kevin Magnussen, again, a little bit lackluster this weekend so far, 30.1 compared with Nico Hülkenberg's 29.4, big difference. Obviously, Nico went back through into Q2. Logan Sargent,
so it just falls if he can falls, but if he can't falls, he will not start falling.
And then on to perhaps the most important element going into the race tomorrow, which is speed through the air. What they were doing through the speed trap in qualifying. Speed trap, just as a reminder, in the middle of 130R. And then in brackets, I got the speed trap numbers from FP3 earlier in the day. So you can see there how perhaps some teams made some changes to aero setup going into qualifying. But what we see there in terms of the qualifying number is the number with which they'll be going into the race. They can make front flap adjustments, but that's not going to be quite as significant as the changes they could have made between FP3 and qualifying, if you get my gist. Anyway, let's have a look. The Haas Ferrari, Nico Hülkenberg quickest through the air, 300, and it was in FP3 this morning.
No,
Similarly to the Williams. The Williams
fall.
looked like they took some wing out of the car to try and get a bit more downforce into it. They were 308, ridiculously quick in a straight line in FP3. Kevin Magnussen in the other Haas Ferrari. Yuki Tsunoda 298 in qualifying through the speed trap, 300, so they didn't really make any changes. And that says a lot about the work they're doing at Visa Cash App. Very good job there.
Visa Cash App,
Logan Sargent, right up in Williams territory, if you like.
On.
And then Sergio Perez 298 in qualifying.
Right.
Max Verstappen 297 in qualifying, so very, very similar. And about doing the same thing in FP3. So Red Bull sticking with that setup, running a relatively large amount of wing given the amount that they have to play with there, and that's a really impressive performance, I think, for them. It just shows how much downforce they're running. Oscar Piastri 298 in qualifying compared with Lando Norris 295. It looks as if Oscar's taken a little bit of wing out of that car going into qualifying, looking for some more top speed. That may be a good thing for him tomorrow, we'll see. Lewis Hamilton 297 in FP3, 297 in qualifying, so no changes at Mercedes. They've got the top speed about where they want it, I think. It's in Red Bull territory. It's just that they don't then have the commensurate amount of downforce to go with that to manage the tyres and to make the car really drivable. And so on this occasion, they've gone for the top speed. Let's have a look at George Russell, perhaps 298 in FP3, 295. Looks like he added a bit of downforce going into qualifying. Whereas Lewis was running that amount of downforce in FP3. Daniel Ricciardo 297, yeah, pretty good. Max, we've talked about. Charles Leclerc, here's the first of the Ferraris, 297. We see them, they don't look impressive on the list there, but it's 297, which basically is Sergio Perez territory, so they're kind of there in terms of top speed. Looks like they've added a bit more down.
Yeah. So yeah, Haas remove. No, you. At least Albon is up there.
For since FP3 going into qualifying for the race, whereas Carlos Sainz 295, yeah, he's done the same thing. He was quicker in FP3. Fernando Alonso, everything about the same. He's there or thereabouts, shades slower perhaps, but not much. And Lance Stroll, similarly 299 down to 295, added a bit of downforce to that car. George Russell, yeah, they made a big change to George Russell, nearly 300 in FP3 down to 295 in qualifying, but with that additional downforce, either it made the car too pointy or something like that. He never got it right in terms of the balance in qualifying. Carlos Sainz 295 going into the race, compared with Charles Leclerc 297, compared with Sergio Perez 298, and compared with Oscar Piastri 298 as well. So that's a little bit of a disadvantage for Carlos Sainz there in terms of his top speed, but he does have the downforce, and that may help him in terms of tyre management. We talk about the balance of the race between the potential tyres they may run, the strategy they may run. It'll also be the compromise between top speed and downforce and looking after the tyres. That's the other point that will, of course, come in.
And hopefully Norris will be best in that. And when the rain comes, he will be in the perfect position to go in the pit, get some good tires for the rain, and then go and win.
To play. Interestingly, both Saubers really slow in a straight line. They've got these new upgrades, new floors and stuff, and they seem to be going better. They've got more grip around the lap, but in terms of top speed, they're really uncompetitive. So that's an interesting point, isn't it, that they're quite quick around the lap in terms of Valtteri Bottas, and take the Red Bull philosophy for Suzuka, which is, there's a long straight here, a couple of long straights indeed if you want to talk about the pit straight as well, but this lap is all about balance and grip and looking after the tyres. So we're going to run as much downforce as we can on this car whilst not losing too much in a straight line, and that's the Red Bull philosophy, and it's worked for them yet again. They got it absolutely spot on in terms of just having enough top speed to be competitive in a straight line through the air, but lots and lots of grip and downforce to be able to balance the car if there is a tyre deg problem, and that's where they're at, and they've done a very good job with that. Interesting day tomorrow in terms of the tyres that they may potentially use, the pit stops, and the weather and everything else that comes into play at Suzuka. Looking forward to that very much. Thanks as ever for the support of Jetcraft and Pitbox.io. See you tomorrow. Take care.
Let's see. When will the black screen happen? 21, 22, 24. Okay, this is already too much. Peter Windsor. So 20 to 20. So 20 seconds later, the clip actually ends. Why do you do this, Peter Windsor? This fucking music.
Välkommen till Quick Cassette.
Oh my god, our time, but we will not listen to that. But we will waste their money. Then we have Kym Illman. Let's see. Oh my god. So many more seconds. 30-second ad for yeah, what can you call this? Bad ad. Let's see. Kym Ill, Japanese F1 GP qualifying behind the scene. Let's see what fun stuff.
Japanese Grand Prix.
Oh shit.
G'day, today is
G'day,
qualifying
mate.
day here at the Japanese Grand Prix, and there's been plenty going on, and you've come here to find out what's going on behind the scenes, so
Yes.
let's get cracking. Well, it's now just after 5:30, and we've had quali, and you've probably already realised that Max Verstappen once again ended up on pole position, but Lando Norris put in a ripper effort. He will start third, and Checo Perez from second. Daniel Ricciardo was a lot happier because he managed to put in a pretty good performance, only one spot behind his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. And coming out of the garage today at the FIA garage, he was certainly in much better spirits than he has been over the last couple of race weekends. Yuki, though, was hugely popular as he made his way down where I'm standing here right now, which is the paddock section that leads down to the media centre behind me. And his press officer was having to urge people to keep moving, keep moving. Such was the crowd around him. Kevin Magnussen, I didn't mention this earlier on, but here's some pictures of his spin, which happened at the hairpin. He was okay, but did kick up a fair bit of mud, as you can see here. Now I want to talk to you about these two ladies. They were funny. They had these drivers' heads cut out, then they had this sign, and they went from team hospitality suite to suite, just standing outside here. So for instance here, they would stand right here and they would look through that window and they'd wave those signs at people, and yes, for the limited amount of time that I stayed with them, they were very successful. Did I mention earlier on Sergio Perez? I don't think I did. He signed a cap and it was dangled from up here, from the first level on a string, down to Sergio for him to sign. Now that I've seen happen quite a lot in Austin, Texas, but that is the first time I've seen it being done right here in this paddock. Have a look at this picture. Is
That's
Carlos
nice.
Sainz praying, and is he praying to me? He's not praying, and he's not praying to me. Indeed, I caught him coming up the stairs today, and he got nearly to the top, and then he put his hands up like that, and I've kept shooting. What he's actually doing is begging the gate attendant to allow him to slip through the swipe gates without his pass. Now, a number of drivers do this. They just forget.
Man, he's doing. He's
Bring
a
their
bad boy.
passes when they arrive at the track. That was the case this morning for Carlos, and he was allowed to squeeze through. They get special consideration. Now, I should say too that you want to watch my What the Drivers Drove video coming up next week, because Carlos's car is amazing, but Charles is even prettier. It's probably the best car I have seen all year. I spent
What?
half of the first session today sitting on this floor here taking photos of cars in pit lane. Now, I want you to take a very close look at this picture. What do you see? Valtteri Bottas.
Tear off.
discarding his tear off. Now, a number of drivers do this, and I noticed today at least 3 in pit lane, including Pierre Gasly. And where do they end up? Well, mostly on the ground, but sometimes, as you probably remember recently, in the air intakes of cars.
Yeah, I mean, you care about the environment and how the nature and everything, and then you have this throwing this stuff just out for fun, when you can just make sure you actually keep it in the car.
Causes some drama. Still, you have to be unlucky to get one of those stuck in your area.
Yeah, but I think if it can happen once, why even do that? Why even have so you can do something that can ruin someone's race in so weird way? So they should really remove that.
Lewis Hamilton today was all in black when he arrived, and then I managed to catch him going to the garage, and Lewis wants to get there quickly, and it's very hard for a driver of his standing to get through a crowd, so he comes out the back entrance of the hospitality suite, and via scooter he speeds to the garage. It's disappointing for some fans, but you got to understand, the man is high in demand and he has very little time. Now, I can tell you that the Apple F1 movie crew, the Brad Pitt film crew, are back here shooting this weekend. Small crew, 20 odd people, no actors. Well, we had a brief appearance of Brad, but just this cardboard cut out of his head.
I mean, that's
doing
enough.
some extra vision that will be used in the movie, I believe, crowd shots. They're easily identifiable too because they have these APX tabards, whereas our tabards don't have anything like that. And if you'd like to know more about the production of the movie, have a look at the video I recently put up, Brad Pitt's F1 movie. It's done pretty well, and I think you'll find it quite enjoyable. Fan-wise, I came across this gentleman who'd made a mock trophy out of very heavy cardboard or very high quality paper. But not only that, he produced a car for Pierre Gasly. When Esteban Ocon came in today, he was carrying one of these similar boxes, and it indeed has a gift for him from that same gentleman. These Japanese fans are incredibly giving and incredibly talented. Let me quickly go to Valtteri Bottas, and I want to give you an update on his mullet, and I'll do this every race going forward because I think he's going to have it for a good couple of months. This is the length it is at now. More updates in China. Also this morning coming up those...
How long do we actually try to get it be? Or can he actually get long hair?
Same stairs were Helmut Marko and Sergio Perez, and they chatted for some time inside the gates before they went their separate way. Of course, there's much conversation around whether Sergio Perez will be driving for Red Bull next year.
He will.
Certainly the first 2 races went well. He couldn't have done any better really against Max. He ended up second. A little bit of a blip last race, but we'll see how he goes tomorrow in the Grand Prix here in Japan. Another driver under some pressure is Daniel Ricciardo, and he had a spin in FP3. And they ended up cutting straight to Liam Lawson. Of course, he's first in line if Red Bull decide.
That was so mean. Ricciardo make a mistake and then you do this. That's so mean.
That Daniel's form isn't good enough, and that would be sad. I think most everybody is hopeful that Daniel's form will improve shortly. Now have a look at this. These are all down the paddock here. They're trees, well, no, it's a plastic tree, and on it are little messages written by fans. This one says, "Fight, Suzuka, Te quiero, Carlos, vamos." This is a typical Japanese thing, and I quite love it. I'm not sure what happens to them afterwards, but for the moment, they're taking up a prime position here in the paddock, and people are coming past and reading some of these different messages. You probably can't read that, but it says, "For Lando from pole to win." Well, he's not on pole. He is, in fact, starting from...
But he could win.
...third. Oh, and just behind me, you can probably hear them. Thousands of Japanese fans sitting in the grandstand. At the moment, Nico Hulkenberg's over there on the big screen, and they are entertaining a crowd of, I'm guessing, probably 10 to 20,000 people. And on Sunday night, tomorrow night, you'll find those grandstands will be nearly full after the race, well after the race, because they re-watch the race on TV. Who has...
Really? Why? I mean, I can understand why, but will everyone actually do that? I mean, like, if it start raining a lot, would they actually stay?
A scooter in the paddock here. Well, I can tell you Lewis Hamilton has one, as does Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso. And it's very quick for them to make their way from the top end here, which is where they come out of the FIA garage, down to the TV media pen, because it is all downhill. And this lady over here wants Daniel Ricciardo to marry her. I think she's got quite a bit of competition from Heidi Berger there. Here's a picture of Helmut Marko being interviewed by a TV network. And a couple of you have said, how does it work with media getting access to drivers and people they want to interview? Well, typically a journalist or a reporter or producer will have to contact the team and say, we'd like to interview driver A or B, and we'd like to do it on this date. Well, oftentimes the PR person will say, right, submit your questions, certainly for lesser publications. And in which case, the PR person will say, no, we don't want to do that interview. Or, yes, we can do the interview, but we've got to have these questions crossed out. But what happens, say, when a journalist who speaks French interviews, say, Pierre Gasly or Esteban Ocon, and the PR person doesn't speak French? Because then, as in any interview, questions can sort of come up, which are on the list, and then suddenly you take off on a tangent, and perhaps you're in unknown territory. Well, often the PR person has no idea until well after. If they do get an inkling, it's not uncommon for them to simply say, right, you can't go down that direction, or, hey, shut the interview off. And does a small newspaper, say, have the same opportunity as the New York Times? Well, I understand it's not based on viewer numbers. It may take you a little bit longer to get your interview, perhaps if you're a smaller publication, but it doesn't preclude you because you are not the size of a major international publication. Well, I think I've run out of things to say,
Boring
so
fish.
Probably best to let you get on with what you were doing before.
A new fish, I mean,
please subscribe.
New fish for the
50%
collection.
of you aren't subscribed, and every time I say that, a number of you do subscribe, so thank you in
big
advance
area
for
I'm
doing
mining
that.
out.
And of course, like this video.
Well,
A
look,
whole lot more content of mine.
This is the start.
That's where
I'll
you
mine
go.
out.
Thanks for watching.
And then
Stay
you just
passionate.
continue, and here we have.
This one says SF fight. Alonso. Oh, you bastard.
Wait, did he do something again?
This one says SF fight. Alonso. Oh, you bastard.
I have not seen him before, but who knows? Hey, what's now? I think. Yeah, some Williams. Let's see what they have to say of the Williams warm-up. I want to see.
Welcome to the Williams warm-up for the
Oh, James Wu.
Japanese Grand Prix. It was a track that last year we simply weren't competitive at. If you looked at all the tracks in and around it, we had a point-scoring opportunity, but that wasn't the case in Suzuka. We really struggled there. I think a lot of fundamental changes we've made to the car.
Oh shit! We need to go back.
Fundamental changes we've made. I think a lot of struggled there. I think a lot.
There we have it, James Wu.
All the fundamental changes we've made to the car this year will help us in Japan.
Give me
It's
fishes.
a good base package to work from, which is not quite the case as we had it last year. And I'm intrigued to see how we're going to move up, or where we're going to fit in the field relative to that.
That look new.
Furthermore, we have a few small
new.
updates coming to the car. Now,
New
I'm
for
sure
my collection.
teams up and around the grid will be trying to target the same thing. All I can really comment on is, from our perspective, we've worked hard to try and get a little bit of performance coming to the car at that event. And as we move forward from then, it will just be a bit of a whirlwind over the next few weeks beyond there, in terms of tracks that, for example, we haven't been to in a while, China, or tracks that we know very well, Miami. But by then, we'll understand.
Oh, when Miami happens, then they actually will have their, hopefully, some spare parts for the car. Spare chassis parts. Man. The water music. What's called? The water level in Minecraft music.
Understand this package far, far more, and should be able to exploit more from it as well.
That was good.
It was. Thanks so much. I've yeah, I missed two, didn't I? The first one I forgot, to be entirely honest.
You ran away from the paddock. I'm late.
That was in Saudi, and then what was the last one? Australia. I had car trouble.
Yeah.
Legitimate car trouble.
Yeah,
Twice,
that's very
in fact.
true. This man is the happy owner of the most expensive BMW in UK right now.
Both family cars, done. Anyway, here I am. I've run out of excuses now, so I have to be here. Tough. Very tough, I think.
No, Fitzgerald. You have no more excuses, so you need to be on the show. Man. That's... Man. So mean.
Track and off the track. It was difficult decisions that needed making. On Friday, we did 4, I think, laps. 4 representative laps on Friday before we had an early bath.
Over.
Yeah. In general, then, with the way things panned out, we had 50% of the track running that we normally have across cars.
Not even, in fairness, because Logan's P2 session was disturbed as well, losing the medium set with the spin, not being able to do the diligence work on high fuel, so you had only one car, and that car was on the wrong tyre. So you end up going on Sunday with a lot of unknown, and we saw we paid the price ultimately.
So we were on the back foot setup-wise, and I think understanding of tyres and that sort of thing, because of how many laps he'd done and on what was available, and that's where we were. I think quite often we have a base setup, don't we? And we both go that way and end up trying things and then meeting in the middle, but we didn't get that opportunity to meet in the middle, really.
All the learnings for one car, one driver, so yeah. Picking the ball was not easy. Logan and Alex were really good together. Logan talking through to Alex on his day and trying to help him before P3. Alex coming to see our side to discuss about what we did on tours, why we did it, and what we think of things, because we just had done the day. So it was nice to see everybody working together, which I think uplift Alex on Saturday to be able to achieve what he did, which I think was really good. Saturday, I mostly followed, watch, help where I could. Sunday, I basically ended up, well, we are limiting how many people we can be at the track. FIA limit the personnel that are operational and can operate and with the team. So normally everybody has a very dedicated task, and obviously I could not do my normal job, so you just come up with tasks that you normally cannot cover. And on that day, I was the official photographer of Alex Albon tires. So I was going every lap to the pit wall and taking picture of the cars, how they were passing through, so Alex and a few other drivers, and just to try to have the tire guys understanding where we were and what we could do differently to improve.
That's funny to know. He stood there and took pictures of
the time management.
Must be a fun day.
Not one of them was in focus.
Sorry?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Well, so it's a long-winded way to say you drank coffee and ate ice cream for 8 hours, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I think the travel back was, what, 32 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the one time that it was the worse than that, was probably my first ever F1 race in 2020 when it was COVID, because I really traveled to Australia for no reason, because I just went back.
Green, orange, yellow, orange.
Even practice. But this one felt a bit similar in a way. Weather is always one.
So like April compared to October?
Yeah. It's gonna be much cooler. So tires are going to behave quite differently. The wind is always a big player there, so that's going to be part of it. Different condition. It's probably less risk of typhoon that you normally have at the end of the year when we used to go. There was quite a few years where there was typhoon and they had to cancel a day of running, and so it's probably going to be more settled weather condition, I guess. Cooler, definitely. Right now, or at least a week ago, it was like the same temperature than in England. So if you think you're going to go racing this temperature, it's pretty chilled. It's an amazing track. It's a bit like Melbourne, what I say. Most of the drivers don't really experience that track before F1. It's not a track.
The Sector 1 with the flowing nature of it, it's quite so many lines.
I mean, this... the fuck is this? If we feel like they are just talking about stuff randomly. But it's about the Japan... I mean, they say so much stuff that you maybe don't think of.
Or ways to get around the sector, isn't it?
Yeah.
That there's a lot of refinement needed and that sort of thing. And then there's still couple of slow corners, isn't there? And the figure of 8 loops, it goes over the top of itself, which There's nothing else that we race that does that.
Very old school tracks are very punishing. The smallest mistake.
Yeah, if you have an off,
and you destroy the
it
car.
might be expensive.
We love it. The driver love it, but it can be very, very punishing. Karaoke bar.
Karaoke bar. The fans are good fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're like crazy mad, like fun.
Always come with fun outfit, and they're always there on front of the track, waiting for people.
Can it be?
All the gear and photo, posters and all that sort of stuff, and just even on a Thursday when normally the track's dead, isn't it? On a Thursday, the grandstands are just packed.
Yeah.
And then the same Sunday after the race.
To find so many
I
fishes.
think anyone goes home, they just sit there and watch everybody pack up. It's just crazy. It's good fun.
It's cool.
Apart from that,
well, I think
you were doing the traffic. We got out of the traffic jam with you last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the way back to the airport, he marched us down this probably half a mile solid traffic jam. Just got out of the car and walked and waved me through, and I followed him.
Yeah, we would have.
Otherwise, we would have missed the plane.
We would have missed the plane.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was a good fun story.
Funny. But everybody's so polite; they just let us drive past everybody.
We drove past some F1 people as well in the traffic jam. That was good. No, but I think Japan is amazing because the culture is so unique, so different to our westernized culture. And you just go there and it's just an experience in itself. Just even, are we Hokkaido? I think that's the city we are. Yokkaichi.
Yeah.
Nothing, you see? That's my knowledge of Japan. But Yokkaichi, the city is just amazing. You just go there and you walk and you have all these small places. And last year, I found with a friend, I found a very small sushi restaurant that was amazing. It's just, I don't know, it's a bit special every time you go there, I think. It's very far away, but it's cool.
To do better than last year?
Yeah. I wonder what they will say if they do anything in America. Will it have the same feeling? Remember on the real life death experience when they were
last year was tough.
Yeah.
So that's one. Hopefully there's some new bits coming. We'll see how they pan out, whether that improves car behaviour and that sort of thing, car balance. So that'll be good to see how that gets on. Keep doing better, really. There's been opportunities or we haven't been able to show the pace of the car. Then Australia, I think, was a bit difficult in that respect with the way it panned out. So hopefully just keep building on the first 3 races of the year and have something to show for everybody's efforts, really.
We're still in the same fight, I think. And right now it's very tight between a few teams to be the best of the rest and to score a point if some people don't do well ahead. And some cars having trouble in Melbourne, and there's the bottom 5 teams that are trying to pick the bone. And you see us done well, Racing Bulls done well, we're not far. There's probably a small advantage to Alfa and Alpine, but it's very, very tight, in fairness. And we just want to always be the best.
That, the only time I would say also yes to is close. Is with the bottom teams, not in the top teams. But just between the bottom team is close.
We pick up, and we failed to do so in Melbourne for various reasons. And right now it's a fight for development. Everyone is trying to push. You mentioned we're trying to bring stuff on the car. And all the small bits you can bring to the car can make the difference. We're talking about less than a tenth a lap between cars. So if you just bring small things to the car, you just do a bit of a better work on your setup, the drivers put everything together, it makes the difference.
All right, we'll see.
That's what makes it fun.
Track, I mean, all this was, it felt like they just talked about fun stuff. What they, man, it's, you could say maybe more interesting than the actual talk with Logan Sargent and Alex Albon, because the stuff they're talking about is so weird.
The flowing Suzuka circuit, some 400 kilometers outside of Tokyo, is a Formula One staple, a firm favorite among fans and drivers alike, and F1's only figure-of-8 layout, and it's gearing up to host its 34th Japanese Grand Prix. Given the regard in which fans and drivers view Suzuka, it sometimes seems unbelievable that it's a relatively recent addition to the sport. While the likes of Silverstone, Monza and Spa held spots in the inaugural 1950 season, Suzuka only joined the F1 calendar in 1987, but it immediately won hearts and minds. The first 5 trips to the circuit had title-deciding weekends, including Nelson Piquet clinching his final championship in the FW11B before the race even began. Damon Hill also enjoyed glory in Suzuka, claiming the 1996 World Drivers' Championship with a Williams Racing win around this legendary ribbon of tarmac. A perfect mix of 18 high, medium and slow corners welcomed drivers at the 5.8-kilometre track. It all starts down the Seoul DRS straight past the pits before reaching an incredible 7-corner sequence where the drivers tackle a 180-degree turn and the famed S-curves. As the circuit snakes under itself, going past iconic corner names like the Degnes and Spoon, Suzuka eventually crosses back over the second sector just before the terrifyingly quick 130R. Taking this blink-and-you-miss-it left-hander flat out is the intention, should a driver want a fast lap time. Aside from Damon's 1996 win, we also have 2 other top-step triumphs around the superb Suzuka. Our first Japanese Grand Prix celebrations came with Riccardo Patrese's 1992 victory in his final win.
Man, and hopefully this will... Hopefully Williams will come back to at least wins races.
Win for Williams Racing and of his career. And
I would say at least podiums, but then sometime wins
honed his
races
Japanese driving 2 years later in '94, beating pole-sitting Michael Schumacher to the flag to close the championship gap to just 1 point heading into the final round. We've scored plenty of points in recent history here too, with 5 top 10 finishes in our last 8 Suzuka outings. It's a great circuit with countless special memories, so join us as we look to make more this weekend at WilliamsF1.com and on the Williams Racing app.
Oh, that was that. Like, I don't know what to say. It was... Hey, something you can say it was. It was actually a Williams warm-up for Japanese driver, because... Man, I would say that was 100% a warm-up. Just talk about stuff that you want to talk about. See, I had something... Yeah, Peter Windsor had something about George Russell. I want to... I think. Let's see if it's... I feel like I have not seen this. So let's see. What do you have to say? Then I think I have something about Kym Illman also to watch.
I would like to remind you now of what George Russell said after his shunt in the Australian Grand Prix. What he said after the race in Melbourne. I was half a second behind Fernando, 100 metres before the corner, and then suddenly he came back towards me extremely quickly. It was clear that he had braked earlier than he had done on previous laps, and then got back on the throttle. I wasn't expecting that, and it caught me by surprise. I hit the wall, blah, blah, blah. So that's what he said after Melbourne. And as a result, not as a result, that was after it was clear that Fernando was going to get a penalty for basically for confusing George. I don't think the steward...
For confusing Russell, yeah. That's so mean. Russell's confusion gave, for some reason, Alonso a penalty. It's like, why?
It really went down the path of this was a brake test, but they didn't have any other way of dealing with it, really, and that's, you know, so he got the penalty. Anyway, this is what George said on Thursday night in Japan before FP1 and FP2 on Friday.
And the qualifying talk I need to also watch.
Actually looking at the steering wheel, making a switch change on the straight, and when I looked up, I was on Fernando's gearbox, and it was sort of too late. The next thing I know, I'm in the wall. Can you brake in the middle of the straight? I don't know. Nothing more to say, really. Well, there's quite a lot to say, I think, George. 2 things. One, you're looking down at the steering wheel when you are only half a second behind another car at about 250 kilometers an hour. I'm amazed. You know, let's get onto that subject, because I always imagined that drivers never play around with toggles and do all that switch adjustment on the steering wheel if they're in traffic. I'm assuming they usually do that on the straight, approaching a braking area, if they're kind of on their own on the track, they haven't got too many cars around them. It's a little bit like when the engineers talk to the driver. You tend not to do it when he's in the middle of some unbelievable dice braking into a corner. You try and do it when he's on the straight, when he's a little bit more relaxed. I'm absolutely staggered that George Russell would be doing that when he's only, well, by my calculations, about 30 metres behind Fernando at 250 kilometres an hour. That's very close at that speed. And there he is, having to look down at the dash. I'm looking down now as I speak, kind of what he would be doing on the steering wheel. One, that he would do it then with a car in front of him, and B, that he has to look down anyway. I've always assumed, obviously incorrectly, that the drivers and the engineers work in so much sync, in perfect sync, to the point where their peripheral vision covers everything they need to do on the steering wheel, apart from really difficult things which they have to do with a specific movement which they do on the straight when there's nobody else around them. But generally speaking, I'm imagining they're looking a long way ahead, and everything they're doing is done with their near peripheral vision. But quite clearly it isn't, because as George saying, he actually took his eyes off the road to look at the steering wheel. That's what he's saying. I'm actually blown away by that. And it reminds me a little bit of when, years ago, Goodyear, when Goodyear were in Formula One, they used to do a brilliant thing for the British Grand Prix, and they used to invite the press up, the media, to do laps with Grand Prix drivers in Goodyear-tired road cars. Most of them were hot road cars. And this happened for about 5 years. It was a sort of preview to the British Grand Prix. And one year I went up, it was pouring with rain, and I did a lap with Jody Scheckter in a pretty hot Renault blah, I don't know what sort of Renault it was, front wheel drive thing. It wasn't a 5, it was something quite big, I remember that. It was a Renault Gordini spec thing, it was quite a quick car. Anyway, we drove out and it was wet, and we go out of the pit lane into Chapel, the left-hander, then into Beckett's, and he hasn't got the windscreen wipers on. It's pouring with rain, and there's rain all over the place. And we go down the Hangar Straight, and I look across at Jody, and I said, "Jody, can you see okay?" And he said, "Oh yeah, the wipers," and just put the wipers on. And I asked him later, I said, "Why were you so slow on looking at the wipers?" He said, I never think about it. He said, "I'm always looking so far ahead, I don't even see the windscreen. I'm looking at what's happening at Stowe when I'm coming out of Beckett's." And I thought, wow, that is the difference between me and, mortal me and these superhumans that drive these Grand Prix cars. It's unbelievable.
But surely it will still be hard to look, even if you're trying to look ahead.
Unbelievable vision, peripheral vision, and indeed extended vision. And here's George saying, "I've got to look down at the steering wheel to do a toggle adjustment, and I've got Fernando Alonso 30 meters in front of me, and we're doing 250 kilometers an hour, and there's 2 laps to go, and he might do something a little bit different. Shouldn't I be watching him?" I just find it extraordinary that he does that, and that nobody is now saying the real problem here, the real cause actually, are these steering wheels and how complex they are, and everything we expect the drivers to do, obviously when they're following another car closely at very high speed. It's inevitably going to lead to some accidents, more accidents, I would imagine. So is it not time, I'm thinking to myself, where maybe we start redesigning what the drivers can actually have on the steering wheel?
Yeah,
take away some of all these switches. Take away the switches, because
remove them.
At the moment, it's obviously distracting.
Oh, blue.
I mean, this
yellow.
What George is actually saying there is basically what the police used to say when they were banning mobile phone use driving a road car. And I remember listening to one scientist medic scientist who was saying that even talking remotely is a distraction from actually driving.
I know.
So drivers talk on the radio, and they're playing with all the toggle switches, and they're following Fernando Alonso 30 meters behind at 250 kilometers an hour. And then there's another point here. He says, "Can you brake in the middle of the straight?" Well, it wasn't the middle of the straight, George. That was the other thing. And I find it extraordinary that he said that, because it's like it's becoming a different accident.
True. Alonso did nothing wrong.
To the one that actually took place. It wasn't the middle of the straight. It was 100 meters before the corner. 100 meters early.
Get so many
100 meters earlier, touched the brakes 100 meters earlier than he normally would.
I need more buttons.
Doesn't mean to say it's halfway down the straight. No way. And yet he's saying there, he's now in his memory, I guess he's thinking that Fernando did that halfway down the straight, which isn't the case. So I'm pretty amazed by all that. And if there's no reaction to what George is now, I suppose the final point, actually, I should make it, is that if
don't worry, Peter, I will fight to the death for Alonso being the right.
If he was playing with the toggle switches and looked up and suddenly saw that Fernando had braked a little bit earlier, Why didn't he say that at the time in Melbourne? Why is that only coming out now? No mention of playing with the toggle switches. In fact, what George is doing there is basically repeating everything that's just been discussed in the stewards meeting, and you know, that 100-meter stuff and all that. It's all, and Fernando going down a gear and up a gear. That's all the stuff that came out in the stewards from the telemetry, and he's just repeating there. What he's not doing is telling the full story, which is that, well, you know, I was looking down, I wasn't paying attention at the time. And I wonder if he'd said that, whether Fernando would have got the penalty. And you say, well, why am I going on about it now? Water under the bridge, as a lot of people love to say so many times. I say this because this is all under the heading of brake testing. Was it a brake test? Was it not? I said from day one, to me, it wasn't a brake test.
True.
But I have said many times now on live streams and on this channel and on these vids that if that was considered to be a brake test, then the penalty was nothing like stern enough, strict enough. Because it shouldn't be just a drive-through penalty or a 20-second penalty or 3 points on your license. It should be much more than that. Brake testing is horrendously dangerous. And so this opens now, having said that, that opens another door now, doesn't it? Because actually not paying attention to the car in front also is very dangerous.
True.
Because you can't predict. I mean,
that should George also get penalty for crashing out and not being aware what Alonso is doing.
He may not have intentionally come off the power a little bit sooner or touched the brakes a bit sooner. It may have been because something had happened to the car and the car had felt weird, or the brakes had gone, or something else had happened. And you got to, if you're following a car closely at that speed, you've got to be ready for the guy in front not to be doing exactly the same.
That didn't Lewis Hamilton do in Saudi Arabia. He said he thought Max had a problem. And what happened? He for some reason still keep being right behind him and then crash into him. Because yeah, Max Verstappen let the... I don't know, I think it was maybe said he brake. But even if he did, Lewis Hamilton still kept being behind him. When he was... apparently should let by.
Same thing that he'd done the previous lap. Surely, that particularly with 2 laps to go in the race, you know, it's a long race. Anything can happen, and you know we already had 1 brake failure in that race. So why would you be so confident that Fernando is going to be doing exactly the same thing? That you're looking down at the dash, doing a toggle adjustment at massively high speed, with no distance between you and the car in front. I just don't get it. And to me, that is the real point that needs to be discussed, and that is almost as dangerous, I've got to say, as brake testing deliberately. I know this wasn't deliberate in George's case, but and he's probably not to blame for this, because you load the drivers up with enough engineering tools, they're going to use them, and they have got to drive the lap, and they have got to race against other cars. And really, I feel quite sorry for George if that was the case, because he's an unbelievably good racing driver. And here he is, when he should have been racing Fernando and thinking about positioning and seeing that he suddenly brakes a little bit earlier, maybe move to the right, get inside him. There he is, faffing around with the toggle switches on the steering wheel. You know, that's wrong. And that's 2024 modern Formula 1 racing out of control, in my opinion.
True. Alonso did nothing wrong. Hype. The ending so Peter Wizard clips still needs to have some work. No, I don't want to listen on fucking Disney. Oh shit. Oh, what do we have left? Yeah, we do Kym Illman and then
G'day.
The qualifying talk, then some other
G'day from a very grey
happen.
Japan. It was a pretty grim afternoon, and it left a lot of the Japanese fans dissatisfied, angry even. at the very little running that happened in FP2. And I guess you can't blame the teams. They certainly didn't want to risk their cars being damaged, but unfortunately there wasn't a lot of laps. VCARB came out, and I think they did that primarily because they have lots of local fans. They entertained them with some laps, nothing terribly quick. Red Bull didn't even come out at all, so a disappointing afternoon for them. But you've got to hand it to the fans. They sit out there rain or shine. They are certainly devoted. Where was I? Well, I went over to the other side of the track and I was amongst all the cherry blossoms and a whole lot of amateur photographers. And there were so many with long lenses. This is an amazing track because they do encourage people to bring their lenses. I was hoping to get a lot of cherry blossom shots. In the end, I got a handful. It was lovely to see. Of course, cherry blossoms aren't normally blooming when we are here. We're here 6 months
Should this
earlier.
look good?
While there's some light rain falling, it's not dissuading these people from lining up. There's a huge line for people wanting to buy official merchandise here. They are certainly passionate consumers at this race. And behind me are some very interesting flags, which, if you happen to shoot them in the right moment, provide some funny gurning faces to some of the F1 drivers.
True.
Now let's go back to FP1 and Logan Sargent's disappointing performance.
It was
I was
last
shooting
bucket.
just next to the area that he
God
came
damn
off.
it.
I didn't hear anything, so it was obviously a surprisingly quiet crash because the first I knew about it was a couple of guys running towards this scene. So I grabbed my long lens and then I stand and witness Logan looking pretty sad about the situation. He ended up making the short walk over to the medical car, said he was okay, jumped in that, and then he headed back to pit lane. Of course, last race we had the drama of his teammate crashing and putting that car out of action, but today it was Logan's turn. This obviously puts a lot of pressure on the young fella, and of course with more pressure you tend to take fewer risks, means he's not as fast, and it can be a downward spiral. I hope in this case it is not.
It will probably be, and someone else will sit in the car next year.
Hamilton came in yesterday and unusually didn't want to be photographed. In fact, his security guy asked a couple of us not to use the photos. The ones I had weren't very good, so it was no big drama. But that's unusual. It happens from time to time, and I guess in our situation, if we're working with these people, often it's in our best interest not to publish those photos. In this case, they weren't really worthy of publishing anyway. I don't know what the other guys' photos were like, but today he came in and he was all smiles and very happy to make that walk along the paddock catwalk. Funnily enough, there was a gentleman up the top here, an F1 Experiences client, who was shouting gift, 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 gift repeatedly. He got Lewis's attention just as he walked inside the hospitality suite. Lewis pointed up to him and said to his security guy, "Please go and grab that." And the fella tossed down this envelope, which the security guard gave to Lewis. Obviously, I have no idea what was in it, but he certainly got Lewis's attention. Lewis was wearing Tommy Hilfiger, and I think these are Namias jeans from Charles Leclerc. He looked pretty slick coming in this morning. Carlos Sainz stopped for a little bit and chatted with Helmut Marko, and also Peter Hardenacker from Sky Sport Germany. What were they talking about? Well, I can't actually say because Peter told me about it. But maybe we'll hear something coming.
Wait, what?
Up in the future, but I don't think it was contract negotiations.
Probably nothing.
The cherry blossoms are out.
But the media will probably say, "Oh, it will be the biggest deal ever." Helmut Marko have now finally get out and said that he will signing Carlos Sainz now.
It's perfect timing because I've never been here when cherry blossom season has been in full swing. I went to a castle in Nagoya the other day where they were beautiful, but there are some...
Castle? Man, you sure about that? It was actually a castle. Clayfish.
Highly visible here at the track and even feature in some of our photos. Talking Charles Leclerc this weekend, he's wearing a Leclerc this weekend. He's talking Charles Leclerc here at.
If you can get both this clear and this clear, I would say this will look
track and even feature in some of our photos. Talking Charles Leclerc this weekend, he's wearing a special Jules Bianchi helmet in memory of Jules, who died 1 decade ago at pretty much the exact same spot where today Logan Sargent went off. Now, somebody mentioned to me that all the cars that go around the track and they take drivers from here to the fan zone, they also shuttle people around, have had the Honda stickers stuck up. I don't know why. Maybe it's a clash of sponsors, but certainly that's unusual. It does happen occasionally, but Honda getting no value out of their logo on the front of their cars. And I did a meet and greet this afternoon, and it was probably one of the most fun meet and greets I've done in a long time. And I've come across my own sign from this lovely young lady. Domo arigato gozaimasu. Well, this is really remarkable out here. Some people have bought some very interesting things. Look at that. I've never seen a hat with a Scalextrics car running around the outside. And I used to have Scalextrics as a kid, but there would be 120 people. And what I'm convinced of is that some of the people at the back have perhaps just got in on the end of this thinking it's someone and have no idea what I do. But I'm thankful that the people who are here do have an idea of what I do. And this car will go around forever. One of the great things about this media centre is that we have Nikon and Canon with representatives here. Of course, this is their home country, and I'm a Canon shooter, so these guys in the background are immensely valuable to me. Not only do they clean our sensors of our cameras, but they also lend us equipment, which is a great chance to...
Man, hi. I mean, no American company will ever do that because, yeah.
Try new stuff, and obviously for them, it's a great sales strategy. Now, one of the best dressed men of the paddock is this man. It is Nobuaki.
I mean, well dressed, yes, but not what I would say good dressed.
Sonoda, yes, father of Yuki. He never ceases to amaze me with his fine dress sense. Also today, parents-wise, we had Pierre Gasly's mum, Pascal, and father, Jean-Jacques. And did you know that Pierre's middle names are Jean-Jacques, after his father? It's now 20 minutes to 6, and I can tell you the paddock here is very quiet. Hardly anything is going on. There are no fans left here. Drivers are tucked away in their drivers' meeting, and I guess we're probably all going to earn ourselves a little early night here.
Well, cheers. Cheers. Cheers, lads. Cheers.
So with that said, I'll say please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Only about 50% of you are subscribed, and that's very disappointing. And for a whole lot of extra stuff, check out these sites. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.
Man, so aggressive.
I was hoping to... This is a...
More people going behind him and ruin his... So mean. But yeah, let's finish the fishes, and then I want to watch the qualifying talk. Yellow purple. Yellow purple. Det var yellow brown. Red magenta. Red magenta. Lime blue. Orange cyan. And let's see, red, green. Yellow, orange, green. Green, orange. Let's move all this away, and then we can push all this light gray. Light gray cyan, light gray gray, and the white. Gray. Did we have gray here? No, just light gray. Some yellow, white. Oh, yellow. These should change. Oh no. There we have yellow. No, yellow. Blue. Sure, blue, grey, white. Nice, we have done that. Let's see, what do we have? Is snooper and clay. Snooper and clay. Okay, clay, blue, white. Blue, white. Blue, white, blue, white. No blue, white. Then we have on snooper. Snoop, yellow, light gray, yellow, light gray, yellow, they were light gray, light blue, light gray, then we put light blue here. Then we have white and light gray. Oh. Then we have 3 light gray. Nice, and then we put that away, and then we release that, and then we have 1 bucket left. So we can go and get more.
Påskren är igång. Nu med...
Go away. More iron for buckets. Let's see. This should be. This is right. The right place. I hope. I've been so wrong many times. No, it's not. God damn it. Now one day I hope I will not go to the wrong place. Oh, time for qualifying listening.
I think overall we had very good pace. We were just trying to, of course, do the best lap you could. But yeah, my final lap was maybe not the best out there. I just ran out of front tires, basically from the middle of the lap, and then yeah, just can't get get the rotation in. But overall, you know, to still be on pole like that, I think was good. You know, overall, I think the whole weekend already, you know, over 1 lap we have been very decent. But we did need to work a bit more on the long run pace. We made a few changes after FP3 that hopefully will help for tomorrow.
Mixed emotions. I didn't have a great opening to the lap.
Yeah, I know the feeling. So yeah, you don't do a great lap, and then you know also, man, if I just done somewhat better, it would actually have been pole. Also against Max Verstappen.
I lost there half a tenth or so. So I think overall, more than the result, it's how pleased I am, you know, to look back a couple of months ago when I was here. I think this place was last year one of the hardest places for us because of what we were doing with the car. High speed, long duration corners, medium speed content. We were just compromising a lot our setup, and now we seem to have found a much solid stability, and I think if we are able to be as quick as we were today in Suzuka, with so many high-speed content, medium-speed content, it puts me a smile to my face because then it shows that we can be strong elsewhere.
The pace was kind of there, but we knew it was going to be tough between us, Mercedes, Aston, Ferrari.
Stop believing that Mercedes are good, Lando Norris. It's you, not Perez. It's you, Red Bull, and Ferrari. Only team you actually need to think about. Aston Martin can maybe be up there, and Mercedes, but surely they are not the real target in the long run.
So kind of 8 cars, which were pretty close, and we knew that Red Bull had a little bit of an advantage. So yeah, we knew it was going to be tough, but it kind of all came through well. Good Q1, good Q2, and 2 good laps in Q3. So better than we were expecting. I probably wasn't expecting a P3 and to be only 2 tenths off Red Bull. So I think it's a good
Oh shit, I
thing.
didn't get them.
Happy with the result.
I think so. I think we maximized everything today. Already in FP3 we saw the top 3 today was going to be tricky. So to be top 4, it was a very clean lap, some very good laps from myself today, and yeah, happy with the performance.
I want Leclerc being here. Stop being better than Leclerc, Carlos Sainz. You the one that will
the
lead
edge
you.
this weekend to battle the Red Bulls, and still 2 tenths behind McLaren. So yeah, we've improved massively compared to last year around here, but still it's one of our weakest tracks.
Yeah, extremely happy. I think there is not much left on the car today. Seems that we
Maybe not for you, but for Stroll, it's a lot of stuff is missing.
squeeze every tenth of a second out there, but yeah, the last 2 runs in Q3 was a little bit on a, let's say, on an uncomfortable level of risking. It didn't work in Australia, for example. In Q3 I went off in 10.6. When you drive at that limit, is just, you know, a little bit of luck as well that you complete the lap. But today everything was fine. Happy with P5.
Yeah, I think Q1 looked quite competitive and quite strong for myself. Q2 not quite as much, and then Q3 had similar kind of story. So I think just lost a bit of rhythm in Q2 and never quite found it again. So yeah, be interesting to see where I could have improved.
I'm naturally not happy with P7, of course.
Wait, what? Peter Windsor said that you would be happy because you beat George Russell. You must be super happy, showing off how good you are.
But there was a couple of moments where we were higher up.
Tell me that you're sad without telling me that you're sad.
I was definitely hoping to potentially get a little bit closer, but it wasn't meant to be. But I'm happy with just the way the weekend's gone so far in terms of the progress we made and setup. Been much happier to drive the car.
It's not good, obviously, especially on a qualifying like this, where if I rely on the feeling...
Yeah, you're also behind Lewis Hamilton. That can't be fun.
The feeling is pretty good. If I look at the lap times after that, it's a disaster. So these are one of those races where, when it's the case, normally it's more the grip available from the car. But I don't quite have the explanation why we will have less grip, why I will struggle quite a lot more compared to Carlos until Q3, where maybe I was in a bit of a better shape. But overall, I have been I have struggled a lot.
Yeah, I think we did a great job in Q1 and Q2 and pulled the laps
Cat
together.
is missing.
But ultimately, the car wasn't as competitive here as it has been at other circuits, and we knew that coming into.
Here we have an iron gun to get killed in the future. But it's time to rescue the cat.
This race weekend, we've had 3 circuits in a row now that have been high-speed circuits. And high speeds are our weakness.
Oh, it's 2.
That's just the nature of the calendar. We saw it much more competitive in Bahrain.
I felt a bit of pressure this time, I won't gonna lie. Yeah, still
Hey, but you did it. And also the code also did it.
Q3 and yeah, probably wasn't easy. The qualifying itself wasn't easy that.
Oh my god, I thought something was trying to attack me. It was the engine from the
Unexpected.
car.
Struggle with the balance, I would say. But overall, as a team, we did a fantastic job. Daniel is just right behind me, so I think we can play around with the strategy, whatever, and try to score points.
Yeah, mixed emotions, because I think, like deep down, if we forget the scoreboard, so to speak, I think it was a good session. As you say, we didn't get any dry running yesterday, so we had a few laps this morning to get into it, including a spin. And then
don't worry, Ricardo, I believe in you. You will get points this race.
Yeah, obviously quick work to find those few tenths in quali. So yeah, for that, like I'm pleased with us. Yeah, being.
Wait. Surely you can't be pleased with this. Peter was so sad that.
But it's not Q3, you know. So that's where I was. Yeah, I've it's been what 10-15 minutes, so I've calmed down a little bit. But no, I'm not that I was angry, but just the competitor in me, of course. I knew I was P10, and then when you get bumped by it just a little bit, yeah, it would have been nice to give the guys a boost.
The lap deleted didn't matter because it was a used tire run. No, very happy, very pleased with the performance. Clean laps, good laps. Enjoyed that quali. Last year I had a messy one here, and this year was really keen to push a clean one out, and managed to do.
I don't care about you or Haas. You should just go away.
Did that, and I think we,
ruined the Formula 1 for Williams Senna. Visa cash up arbit Formula 1 thing.
That we missed Q3. That was really as good as it is. So very happy. Yesterday, P1 things seemed not so good as expected. Our package is not super happy around here. So I'll take 12s happily.
I think the Q1 lap was really sweet and good compared to others. And Q2 obviously I tried to find more. Only could find a few hundreds more.
I would say I wouldn't want to see Stake F1 team kick sub being good, but they need to be better than Haas in my opinion. So I really don't want to see them better, see them good, but they need to get better than Haas. So in some way I also want to see them good.
But I think eventually when everyone starts to get their laps together, you kind of fall in the order of performance. But it's good to see that we're really knocking the door of Q3 this weekend, like it was last race. So we're definitely making small steps.
Come, Kit Kat.
Struggling a little bit, struggling all weekend. Obviously, never really.
Not as much as Logan Sargent.
And we were a little bit on the back foot from the first session, so it compromised us a little bit more throughout the weekend so far. Honestly, the car didn't feel bad in qualifying. I was pretty happy with it. Just this tarmac so aggressive, so chews up the tyres quite a lot. So overheating in the qualifying laps is tricky to manage. Kind of in the middle of race management in a quali lap. It's not that fun.
Come here.
Do you have any prior motoring conviction?
Clean as a
whistle. Can you confirm that you will be adhering to the speed limit?
No.
Just drift along. Is there any risk of fire damage?
No.
Yes.
No. Good.
No more Arengolas. Man, what kind of ad is this? Oh, come on, go away. I could have skipped it, but this was so bad I wanted to not go.
Looking at just before the.
Oh man, the celebration to be getting to Q2 and then you just get 15.
Session we are looking at what we could do.
After Stake, F1 team kick Sauber, Haas and Williams.
And getting into Q2 looked impossible, so we were happy to get into Q2 to maximize the potential once again of the car.
And
we are
you
doing
did.
a strong job at the moment with the team, but it's a small satisfaction. Let's call it like that, and we need to find more performance for the future. Keep digging all the little
Wait,
details.
really?
And pray
you
for
need
something
more?
to happen tomorrow.
Was
to
it that enough?
So yeah, good lap in Q1. Unfortunately, not enough in Q2. We had in hands.
Yeah, everything felt fine. Just very.
True, everything felt fine.
Slow today. No pace in the car, and no pace in myself in my car. The car looks quick, and Fernando was quick. So I don't know. Don't have more answers.
Straight out of the car, I think we need to analyze a bit more in details. I think sector 1 was clearly looked strong and the car felt good, and then after that just sliding all over the place with the rear tires, so it just feels like we overheated the tires way too early on the lap. But yeah, we'll analyze and yeah, try to learn for next time.
I think we improved the car for qualifying, but
I mean, how Kevin Magnussen is qualifying, I feel like. Do you really want still him in the team when you can maybe get Oliver Behrman? That will maybe do the same qualifying, but you also get paid for having him.
Started quite far from.
Or a discount
from
on the stuff
with
from Ferrari.
Yesterday. So it's not been the cleanest run up to qualifying, and we'll run this setup tomorrow. But I think, as I said, we improved the car and the consistency, but still just lacking pace. We knew this track wasn't going to be our track, but on top of that, I think on our side of the garage, the build up to the weekend, maybe we just missed the beat a little bit. But anyway, we have a race tomorrow, and hopefully, like the 3 first races, we can make some ground in the race. Certainly try.
I think it was a good turnaround from yesterday, first of all. Credit to the team getting the car turned around. And I feel like I had a good turnaround from P3 to quali. Certainly wasn't super comfortable this morning, but felt like I put in a pretty decent lap there. And only a 10th and a half from the cutoff is painful, and to be P19, it's tough. I just think we've missed a little bit as a team this weekend.
Yeah, we made a lot of change because we didn't get enough lapping at P3, unfortunately, with the issue we had. So for me, it was difficult to, let's say, predict the car. I think the lap, it wasn't perfect, but it was a smooth lap with no major mistake. Aside from the last chicane, the car was sliding quite a bit than I expected, where I think that was the lap time to the cutoff. But yeah, unfortunately today it was always going to be difficult.
Yep. Oh my god, you just for 0.004 behind the Longsaren. And yeah, let's see how many. It's 8 hours and 54 minutes. Well, let's see. Max Verstappen will start in pole position. I hope for Lando Norris win. Max Verstappen P2, then Charles Leclerc P3. That's my really hope. But if Sergio Perez wins and succeed to lead the championship, I would also want that. I want Mercedes to have a bad race. Visa Cash App Aubrey from one team have a good race, so Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo get both points. And it would be amazing if Alex Albon also succeeded to get some points. Probably not when he starts so low down. And yeah, but that we will see in 8 hours and 53